Now, these Reddit stories are meant to be true. Whether you believe them or not is entirely up to you. Thank you very much for choosing my video to chill to. Relax, my friends, settle down and enjoy. I am house dog sitting and something feels off. Before you read, be warned, this is long. And to preface, I am dog house sitting for my boyfriend's family friend for 3.5 weeks. To start, let me say that I am horrified and confused. I am on night 4 of the stay. It's 9 as I'm writing this. I'm not sure how to explain all that's happened, so please be patient. On Tuesday, I arrived to the house at 2 PM after my classes and text Bill, homeowner and fake name, saying I had arrived. I began my list of duties, giving Miro, the dog, his meds, taking him for a walk, checking the house, locking the doors, turning on the security system and relaxing. Bill had finally texted back, sorry for not answering sooner, I was in a meeting. I'm glad you made it to the house safely. I ordered some groceries on Instacart for you. My boyfriend told me some things you like. If you need anything else, do not hesitate to reach out. He is a very sweet and caring man. Later that day, I made food, took Miro for another walk and came back and started the night routine. More meds for Miro and turning on certain lights. The porch light, a lamp on the main floor's living room, and a light in the kitchen above the counter. That light was already on, and I didn't know where the switch was. At around 10 PM, I turned in for the night and began to chill in my room. The house is freezing, so Bill left a fancy space heater in the room and instructions for how to use it. Important for later. I plugged it in, turned it on, and around 12:30 I fell asleep. At 2 AM I woke to Miro outside my bedroom door, pawing at the ground. I thought it was odd. From what I'd been told, he isn't a fan of anyone besides Bill, and usually just lays in his bed. I get up, the room feeling freezing, and open the door. Do you need to go potty, Miro? Being the baddie he is, walks past me and just lays beside the bed. Assuming he was just lonely, I went and grabbed his dog bed, bringing it into the room, leaving the door slightly ajar in case he wants to leave. As I'm getting into bed, I noticed the heater had turned off. Weird. So I turn it back on and go to bed. I wake up a few times throughout the night to old house creaks and my nerves being high, but all was well. In the morning, I wake up at 6 AM, tired ASF, since I fell asleep late, and begin the morning routine, meds, walk and making myself breakfast, and I noticed the kitchen light was off. I look around for a light switch but can't find one. The day goes fine, my boyfriend comes over to hang out, which before anyone says anything, Bill said that the boyfriend could come over at any time and he's allowed to stay at night. I had asked Bill sometime that day where the kitchen light was, and he said it was in a weird place with the other switches in the dining room. We make dinner and at around 9 PM boyfriend leaves. I go to bed at 10 PM and Miro decides to join me. I'm in bed scrolling through Reddit looking at some AITA posts, but out of nowhere Miro leaves the room. Then I hear something from the floor above. Top floor. I assumed it was Miro, so I ignored. Wait, how could Miro even get up there? Miro was old, and though he can climb upstairs, this is way too many, and way too steep for him. I get up and leave the room, which is right under behind the staircase up. And also right in front of my door is the staircase down, where there is a locked door. I can hear Miro growling a bit, so I walk towards him. Toward the stairs heading up. His front paws are on the second step, and he's just snarling and staring upstairs, where a door is open. Odd, I don't remember that having been left open. But I'm kinda scatterbrained. I just go up and close the door, taking a mental note that all doors are closed. I try to get Miro to come back to the room because I'm kinda scared, but he isn't leaving the stairs. I just text boyfriend explaining the situation, and he comes over. He checks the whole house, turns off all the lights that we aren't supposed to be on, checked all windows, shut every door, and double checked the security system was on. It was not, and he asked me why it wasn't, and became worried. I turned it on, and when he checked it again he just laughed and said, "You didn't even set it. You just turned the gauge sensor on." He showed me how to turn it on and decided to stay the night because he didn't want me to be scared, and we both had classes at the similar time, and since he was my ride, it'd be easier just to stay. He also texts Bill explaining what happened, just to keep him up to date. But at around 4 AM, I woke up to the downstairs motion sensor going off. I didn't see boyfriend in bed and assumed it was him, but wondered why he had gone downstairs. Maybe he woke and couldn't fall back asleep and wanted to watch TV, is what I thought, but the sensor went off a couple of times. That specific sensor is a hallway motion sensor that leads to one of the home offices in Bill's locked room. He keeps a gun safe and various other things in there. So it'd be weird for boyfriend to be going through that hall, especially multiple times. I got up, Miro was dead asleep. Kinda odd, but I don't know what to say about him sleeping through the beeping. I left the room and glanced around. I could see the living room on the main floor had multiple lights on, so I grabbed my phone and went to there. Seeing boyfriend asleep on a chair, wearing pyjamas, shoes, I woke him and asked why he had his coat and shoes on, and he said he took Miro out for a pee a bit ago and fell asleep while taking his shoes off. I was going to laugh while I heard the sensor again and realised why I was awake anyways. Boyfriend got concerned and immediately stood up. He went to Bill's room and grabbed the bat. He kept behind the bed and headed towards the bottom floor. He saw nothing and texted Bill again explaining the issue. That scared the crap out of me and I couldn't really sleep. I left for school around 7 with boyfriend and he offered to stay the night again. I stupidly said no, as parents were leaving town for an anniversary trip. So he needed to stay home and watch his 2 dogs. He said he'd bring them over, but hell nah. His dogs are like £5 and Miro hates other dogs. So yeah, last night, since I was horrified, I wanted Miro to sleep in the bed. Don't blame me, I'm just a scared girl. I had to set up a full staircase for him to make it up. I took a shower. There is a bathroom in the room, and before bed I triple check everything. And at 12 I started to feel tired. Miro had fallen asleep at the front half of my calves. He's heavy ASF. But as I'm going to bed, I hear footsteps above me. I almost peed myself. Miro's literally laying on me. So it can't be him. And it was so clearly footsteps. I took some deep breaths and tried to stay calm. Bill had told me that there was some tasers and bear spray in his locked room. He gave me permission to grab them. So I had a very high voltage taser and bear spray beside me on the nightstand, which gave me a slight bit of peace of mind. But the steps kept continuing. They weren't loud, they were soft and slow, clearly as if someone was meandering around. I do have a history of paranoia and hallucinations, caused by anxiety or sleep deprivation, so I recorded the sounds and sent it to the boyfriend with question marks. I knew he'd be asleep. He usually falls asleep around 10 unless I am over. But he calls me within 5 minutes saying he's on the way. The steps stopped 3 minutes later. Overall having lasted 13 to 15 minutes. He checked the whole house and found nothing. Then he said he was staying the night. I told him no, but he said the dogs would be fine. They've been alone longer, and that he'd go back home at 6 AM. We fell asleep, Miro's still in bed. This morning he left at 6 AM and unluckily, I didn't have class today. So I've been here all day. Boyfriend came back after class. He cooked and hung out. But he had to leave back home for his dogs for the night. So now I'm freaking the F out and alone. Well, with Miro. Oh, and earlier Bill called me. He said that if I'm too scared or worried, he'll get a flight back. I said no. He is on a trip for work and for his wife. She has been living in another country for a year and will continue to do so for 1.5 more years. I'm not going to say what country or why, because that would give away too much personal information and could potentially tell you who they are. He rarely gets a chance to see her, but luckily for him, he had to work a trip in the country near where she is. So after the work thing, he'll spend a bit of time with her, and he wouldn't get another dog sitter. He doesn't really trust people, which makes sense considering his career. The only reason why he trusted me is because my boyfriend has done a lot of work for him and around his house. He's also been friends with boyfriend's family for like 20 years. And he met me a little over a year ago. He was on the freeway and was out of gas. I recognised him from some photos I'd seen on my boyfriend's phone and called my boyfriend, who called him and asked if he was okay. Anyways, I got some gas and as a thanks, he took boyfriend and I for dinner later that week. Since then, we've had a handful of interactions at functions and a dinner with his family. Sorry for that little tangent. I think I'm trying to cope with all the creepiness with humour and just trying to ignore it. I'm not sure what I think of it. I do believe in spirits, and considering this is an old house, that is a possibility. But it could also be nothing or something. I really don't know, what if it's a person? Which is pretty improbable. Nothing has been stolen or broken, so yeah, it's probably all actually nothing. Old houses make weird sounds. The footsteps could have been an animal on the roof. I could have leaned against the light switch and accidentally turned it off. I could have not even turned the heater on, or maybe I somehow turned on the automatic timer. All of this can be chalked up to something. So I'm worried over nothing, but I'm still scared, so I thought this would be a fitting post. I'm hopeful tonight will be fine. I'm going to go to bed and ignore anything and everything. Okay, that is all. Sorry if it's so long. I write about every experience I have, though usually on paper. This is the first time I'm putting something like this onto Reddit though. Hopefully it can make sense, and I don't know what I'm hoping to get out of this post. Maybe some reassurance, or maybe some answers for the things that have been happening. But thank you for reading. Oh, and also, should have said this earlier, I don't know if I did, but the house is pretty old, has been renovated, but it's also huge, which I think is important to know for everything. By the way, if you notice the writing progressively getting worse, it's cause I'm exhausted, take way too long to type. Hey you at the back, I can see you there. Give us a wee follow, a wee subscribe.